Bueno, pasamos a la tercera y última ponencia.
Okay, let's continue with our third lecture, migration to Postgres of WPS databases. Jose Peña Rubia is our speaker. He's a telecommunications engineer and he works for Escolab. Francisco, you have the floor. Good morning. Thank you for coming on a rainy day. My presentation is about a project which we are producing for the Geocartographic Information Institute. The idea is to migrate the Cartociudad database to PostgreSQL and its associated services. Cartociudad, as you may know, is a database which contains all the streets and addresses in Spain, in all Spanish cities. It has almost 4 million entries. So it is a fairly challenging project. At CNIG or CNIG, other initiatives had been put in place for this particular purpose. So they knew all those huge amounts of maps could be moved, could be transferred onto Oracle. But what stopped it? Well, basically, SQL services included some aspects related to route estimation or calculation, which sort of poses obstacles. So there was a technological dependence that had to be overcome. So the goal was to migrate the database while keeping web processing services in operation. Physical infrastructure. No, you can't see it. I don't know why, but yes, here it is. Right, 2 physical locations, one on Manotera Street and another one on Ibáñez de Ibero Street. Should anything happen, things would continue working. They are connected by a 100 megabyte per second network. The network of servers is complex and complete. There are firewalls, load balancers for redirecting data to either of the 2 servers. And basically, I think there are 3 physical modes for databases, and there is hardware and hard disk infrastructure in common, and 2 more physical nodes on Manotera Street. Yeah, this is what I just said. But yeah, this is our solution. 3 physical nodes on Ibáñez de Ibero, 2 physical nodes on Manoteras, load balancing system. It should be tolerant to failure. In other words, if a node fails, the other one must take over, must start operating and deal with requests. There is a streaming replication infrastructure to connect both databases and to make sure that information on both databases is the same. And all this had to be done with open source software to avoid license expenses, which can be very dear indeed. Well, it depends, but obviously if you are in a crisis, you don't want to spend much money. Right, which software did we use? For the database, PostgreSQL plus PostGIS. For load balancing and failure tolerance, PGPool. And to replicate the contents, streaming replication. And to administer the whole thing, PGPool admin, and the operating system is Linux CentOS 6.4. You can't see the pictures. We have a watchdog system. The watchdog sees to it that both sides are operating. If a node fails, the other one takes over. Right, that goes for physical infrastructure. As for software applications and WPS services, we could classify things as follows. Under WPS services, we have route calculation of catchment areas and points of interests. You may define a catchment area and then try and find the points of interest in that particular area calculated by a WPS service server externally to Cartociudad. There is also a geocodifier of addresses, a reverse geocodifier. This codifier gives me back the information I asked for, the street and the number. And the other way around, for the reverse geocoordinate, you give the system the coordinates, and then the system tells you that the nearest spot is Calle Mayor, or the High Street. And there are other services too, such as a simple buffer. This means you can do a buffer for 100 meters, 200 meters, plus generalization with one or two algorithms that allow you to remove nodes to the streets to be able to work at further scales. WPS services, what did we do implementation-wise? Well, we tried to do things a little bit different, in a different way. We used 52 North for WPS services with the new version, but instead of starting by developing WPS services, we first developed web services using JSON as an interface for communication. Why? Basically, because the goal is to think of these services not only as usable on the web, but outside the web and for future mobile applications. So you could have too much, of a usage. But if you develop on JSON and then you do the buffering around those web services and you then publish them as WPS, it's a lot better, because if you gain access to JSON on your mobile, it will work a lot more quickly. It's not yet a standard, but we're almost there. The project also aims to develop a number of demos. I'm going to show you the first one with JavaScript client and using web services. We also have to develop open layers resorting on WPS services, from accessing from the desktop. And we also have a small demo application for mobiles and the mobile version HTML5. And now, since Martín García is here, and he always told us, don't you ever do live demos in a presentation, always use a PowerPoint. So I'm not doing as I am told, Martín. No. This is Cartociudad. I suppose many of you are familiar with it. Let's calculate the route from province Valencia.
Valencia, municipio,
town,
Valencia.
Valencia.
¿Ves que tarda un poquito?
It takes a while.
Y vamos a poner Crevillente.
And street, Crevillente, number 10.
Y luego vamos a ir a Castellón.
And destination, Castellón.
Okay. Eso es lo que hay ahora mismo y está tirando de Oracle.
Right, this is live from Oracle.
Vale. Hasta Castellón de la Plana.
Castellón de la Plana.
De la Plana y Mayor.
High Street.
Vale, buscar. Ahora está haciendo
Find.
la geocodificación directa.
Direct
Está buscando los dos
geocoding.
puntos en base
Both
a
points
la calle.
are being searched for with the street criterion and the code number.
Si toma su tiempo.
It takes some time, as you can see.
Bueno, mientras tanto, si queréis, como parece que se toma
Right.
bastante
In
tiempo,
the meantime,
vamos a probar lo que estamos haciendo nosotros.
let's try what we're doing.
Vamos a ver. Bueno, la cartografía es se puede trabajar con la de Cartociudad.
We can work with cartography on Cartociudad, Street Map,
Valencia
whatever. We want to go from Valencia
hasta
to
Castellón.
Castellón.
De la Plana. Veis que los combos son parecidos
Here
a los
it
de
is.
Google. Bueno, el cálculo
It's
ya está
like
hecho
on
y la
Google.
geocodificación es mucho
Here's
más
the
rápida.
calculation. It's
Si
a
os
lot
fijáis, ha
more
tardado
quickly.
20 milisegundos
It's a lot
hacer
more,
todo el
a lot
cálculo
quicker.
y la geocodificación
20 milliseconds, as you can see.
directa.
It took 20 milliseconds and
Mientras
direct
tanto,
geocoding.
todavía tenemos algún problemilla
Here we still have
con lo que está tirando de
a
la
few
calle.
problems when resorting to Oracle.
El servidor que
The server
estamos usando ahora mismo,
we are using now,
le estamos pagando unos 80 euros al mes.
well, we are
por él.
paying 80 euros a month for it.
Y en este tipo de cálculos,
On this type of
el algoritmo que estamos
computing
utilizando
and
es
calculations,
más rápido
the algorithm
que
is
se está
a
usando ahora
1,000
mismo
times
Cartociudad.
faster than the one used by Cartociudad.
Es un algoritmo que está hecho
The algorithm
en un grupo de trabajo
was
de una universidad alemana.
made
Se ha
by a
implementado
German
un proyecto
university.
de software libre que se llama
It was implemented in a
Y bueno,
project
lo estamos
called
usando,
Grasshopper, open
con
source,
resultados
and
espectaculares. Es más o
the
menos lo mismo
results
que-
are spectacular.
que en Google.
It's very
Luego,
much like
estos combos de
Google.
aquí, los buscadores estos, la geocodificación directa e inversa. pues
Direct
también
and
es
reverse
interesante.
geocoding
Voy a poner
is interesting
esta
too.
Cartociudad y voy a
Right,
usar
I'm not going to have
porque no sé si es un
Cartociudad.
tema de red que va
I'm going
por
to
Valencia
check
o es un tema de
MapQuest. I
Cartociudad
don't know
que
what the
va-
problem
tiene
is.
ahora problemas.
Maybe
Parece que sí.
Cartociudad is having
Entonces voy a
a
utilizar
few
ahora mismo
problems,
como
so
fondo de cartografía,
my
los
cartography
MapQuest, porque quería
background
enseñaros también
is going to be
qué pasa si hacemos un
MapQuest.
viaje hasta
So,
Madrid.
what happens if we want to
Vale.
travel from
Entonces,
Madrid?
Destino Madrid y
Or if
desde
we-
Barcelona.
Sorry, we want to travel to
Origen.
Madrid from Barcelona.
Ya está.
Done.
Y está yendo por las calles. Y bueno, podríamos también hacer un área de influencia.
We could have catchment area
Un área de
search
servicio, un área de influencia.
or a service
a
area search,
350 kilómetros.
350 kilometers.
Es así de rápido.
Done.
Bueno, y aquí tenéis pues todas las direcciones,
And here you have all
tiempos de
the
paso y todo eso. Los combos
addresses.
son inteligentes, entonces si yo por ejemplo
If
decido en lugar de
I
Valencia, le
choose
pongo un código postal,
the zip code or a postcode,
sabe que es un código postal,
the
y,
system is smart enough. It knows
por
it knows it's a
ejemplo,
zip code.
hasta Madrid.
So postcode
Y-
and
o,
then
bueno, ya que
to
estamos,
Madrid.
Vamos a ver si
Or-
funciona con calles, ¿no?
Or let me
Eh,
enter a street name.
No sé si esto estará. orden? No, tal y conforme está, no. Pues entonces hasta Toledo. Vamos a ver.
Or a city, Toledo.
Vale. Calle Toledo, Navaluenga.
Oh, sorry,
Vamos a ir.
Toledo Street, Navaluenga.
Ya está. Es así.
It's done.
Ha tardado 339
It took
milisegundos.
339
Mientras
milliseconds,
tanto, en Cartociudad
while
sigue
in
buscando.
Cartociudad, it's
Vale.
still looking for it.
Bueno, entonces, nada, vamos a volver a la presentación ya.
Let me go back to my
Como
presentation.
conclusiones, pues que
Conclusions.
la infraestructura funciona, es un
The
sistema de alto
infrastructure
rendimiento y
works.
tolerante a
It
fallos.
is a high-performance
Los servicios
system.
web y WPS
It
tenemos su
is
funcionalidad mejorada,
failure
tanto en
tolerant.
velocidad como en consumo de memoria.
Web and
Para esa
WPS services
funcionalidad,
run on an
esto que
improved
estábamos viendo
functionality.
estaba usándose con 2 gigas de
What
RAM
we
solo.
just saw uses
4
2
millones de
RAM
registros.
gigabytes
Antes,
for 4 million
se necesitaban
entries.
12 gigas
In
de
the
RAM
past, it took
para
12
calcular el grafo.
giga RAM,
Y, bueno, y
RAM
hay más
gigabytes.
cosas que no se ven aquí, pero que
So,
también son interesantes.
And a lot more
Por ejemplo,
things you
a la hora
can't
de
see
buscar
here. If you want
las
to
calles y
find
todo eso, hemos
the
utilizado
streets,
funciones nuevas que tiene PostgreSQL,
well, we
que son
used
de-
new
que
functionalities
funcionan
in
FTS, full text search, que
PostgreSQL,
hacer índices y hacer
which
consultas,
allows you to
un poco
do
ambiguas, y te
indexing,
ordena los resultados muy bien.
complex
La verdad es que funcionan
inquiries,
muy bien.
and the results are very good.
Y a la hora de calcular el grafo,
And
lo que
for
antes
graph
tardaba
calculation,
7-8 horas, la primera vez que
before
intentamos
it
calcularlo nosotros
took
con nuestros
6,
algoritmos,
8 hours, and the first time we tried with the algorithms,
fue mal.
well, it didn't work out actually
Unos 3 días.
because it took 3 days
Calcular un grafo 3 días. Entonces, investigando un
just
poquito
for a
más,
graph.
conseguimos un
But
nuevo
we
índice,
worked
se
harder
llama KD3,
and we obtained a new
y
index,
tarda media hora
and it now
en calcular
takes
el grafo
half an
y
hour
necesita solo 2
to
días de RAM.
calculate the graph.
Bueno, no tenemos costes de licencias anuales.
We don't have to pay for a yearly license, which is very good for the administration. We are not technologically dependent, which makes sense when you talk about sovereignty. And that's it. Thank you. We're using OGC standards too. Thank you very much for your attention.